magic behind the scenes. So Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious God, in you there is no east or west. There is no north or south. We are sent out to share your good news in action, word, and deed. We give thanks for John and Caroline for the story they have to share and the opportunity to listen and receive it and support it. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
You did great.
Okay, great.
I'm coming. Okay.
Yeah, sure. It's good to be home. So good to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. I want to start by giving you a reminder of what we do in Ecuador, who we work with, what are we doing? So we work for an organization called One Collective. They have missionaries all over the world. Within Quito. What are you doing, Claire?
Comedy.
I'm going over
Keep
there.
talking, John.
All right. Within Ecuador, our ministry has about 10 different branches. And so we work, I'll probably talk mostly about one of them. Caroline works full-time for, I work half-time for a different ministry that's pretty similar. So that is called Education Equals Hope. Our boss started that organization, when? 20 years ago?
Not quite.
Not quite. She's not that old.
Almost.
And she was involved in ministry in Ecuador. She got to know a girl named Laura at one of the local churches. And this girl was outgoing, vibrant, and then all of a sudden after a couple years, just kind of was sullen and withdrawn. And Cameron said, "Hey, what's going on? I've noticed this change in you." And she said, "My parents can't afford to send me to school anymore. School is technically free in Ecuador. In reality, it's not like here. You have to have a uniform. You have to have your school supplies, or they will not let you in the classroom." So Cameron said, "Well, how much do you need?" That's her boss. And she said, "About $20 a month for the various things." And she said, "Well, I think we can do that, especially with my roommate." Years later, this is who we work for. They keep hundreds of kids in school. Thousands. Hundreds in Ecuador, but it's grown into other countries as well.
Hi, everybody.
Hey!
We got some more people coming in.
Come on board. Good job. This is fun. There's always room for one more.
This is what it's like on the buses in Ecuador, too. You just crowd everybody in.
Yeah, Switchboard, you guys are all on wheels. You thought you could be in the front row, and now you can be. There we go. Confirmation, there are spots over here too.
Hi, Greg. Nice to
Divide
meet
and
you.
conquer.
Okay. That's too close. My hair.
You look great.
Race. All right, keep going, friend.
Okay. So that's what we do. It's a micro scholarship program. It's not large sums of money, but it's enough to keep kids in school who otherwise wouldn't afford it. The other thing that the organization does is host mission trips like the St. John's trip coming this summer. We're so excited.
Tyler's going. Yeah? No?
Anybody else in here?
We talked with them
Tyler.
yesterday. Kate.
Yep.
Answer's going too.
There are two spots in the front on the right-hand side. Steve and Mary, go to the front row. We love you. I know your names. See more over here.
Move forward.
Congratulations, John and Caroline. You have finally figured out how many, you brought enough people in here that all the chairs are full. I like it.
You guys are awesome.
There are three in the front. We love you enough to say, come sit by us. We showered today.
I did. That's true.
I did not. But I went water skiing on Friday in the salt water, and
No, that's not a shower.
I think it counts.
I heard you ski from the port to the lighthouse. Oh,
I did.
We waved from the water.
I said, "Martin, go faster so I can make it all the way to the lighthouse."
Good job, girl.
Sorry, guys. We're coming.
So anyway, that's what our organization does. we'll tell you a little bit about what our day-to-day looks like. It's always changing, but what do you do day-to-day?
It's one of the great things, kind of like it was here, Caroline can attest to, every day is a little bit different. My role is mostly when there are not teams on the ground, which is has been most of the time so far. A lot of the teams come in the summer, kind of like a summer camp. My role is connecting with the partner churches that we have in Ecuador. So if you heard in the sermon, one of them is Buen Pastor, Good Shepherd, which is where St. John's is typically partnered with. We have 17 ministry sites in Ecuador. A lot of those are in Quito. And so I and my coworker, Jorge Luis, who's from Quito, between the two of us, we connect with each of those sites. And the idea is that we have a relationship with them year round so that when teams do come, it's not like, oh no, we gotta find a wall to paint because the gringos are coming, you know? But that we're actually really partnering with people and really doing work that's needed to be done and taking advantage. At the same time, I'm talking to people like Caroline in the States. Sorry, I keep calling you out. People in the States who are bringing teams and saying, okay, who are you bringing? Tell me about them. What are their gifts and talents so that we can use those when you're in Ecuador. So, if you have a yogi coming down, then we're going to do a yoga class. Or if you have, I don't know, who else do we have? We had a doctor come down and he taught about how to avoid diabetes to the Ecuadorians. So we're trying, every mission team is a really tailored experience based on who's coming down in the church that they're partnering with and their needs at that moment. And, I don't see Mandy here. Similarly, when COVID hit here, I was the youth director, but I started a note of dipping my toes in communication, and that's happened again, funnily enough. So I'm also working on some of the communication things. We'll be running a few social media accounts, which is a little scary, but it's gonna be good. And then we have like a branding guide, so I'm trying to make all our materials look professional. It's not all super exciting and fun, like a lot of the time we're sitting at our desks working, but it's important work too, so.
Yeah, and so my day-to-day work, I love administration and emails, which is good because Caroline hates that kind of stuff. So I'm also emailing people coming down from the States, coordinating within our ministry sites in Ecuador, as well as special projects that require people who are organized. So for instance, our founder recently published a book, a children's book. It's called The ABCs of Ecuador. And it goes through each letter in the alphabet and tells you about something in Ecuador. It's kind of geared toward elementary school-age children to promote bilingual education, so in English and Spanish. And so one of my big tasks is, that's a big fundraiser for us to try to raise money to send more kids to school. So spreading awareness about that and getting orders going. So that's kind of what we do. What's next?
Yeah. We put a little video together. Hopefully the technology is going to cooperate. The youth maybe have heard this. There's a little program called 1 Second Every Day. And so we have some videos and pictures that we've taken since we moved in September of just a little snapshot of everyday life. And so we're going to show you that. It goes pretty quick, but if you see something, you're like, what was that? Keep it in mind, and then we can talk about it later. So everybody say a little prayer. I'm going to try to get this.
With or without sound, we got this.
Share sound. Optimize for video clip. Unmute.
That's helpful. Oh, Nick, you can't unmute your computer
It's like
muted.
the host would like you to unmute. Stay
No,
muted.
we don't. Stay muted, please.
Ignore that.
Okay. That's our dog Zoe. She made it to Ecuador.
That's its own sermon.
Yeah. Okay, can I make it full screen?
This is the day I was packing to move to Ecuador, the day before we left, and she was not helpful.
Other things you
Move this. Can I move?
Yep. Minimize that, the thumbnails up there.
Sorry, guys.
Just hit the little,
One of the high schoolers can probably do this in 2 seconds.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to play it. It's behind the thing.
the,
Try to minimize
Colleen Hall.
Go ahead and.
Okay, yeah, all right, ready? Oh, no sound.
You can't have sound because they have good chance. Oh, is it Francis?
Yeah.
Yum. That's Juan Carlos will be the Bishop of Central Ecuador, or Ecuador, right?
Yes. Furniture shopping. Celebrating our anniversary, recording the podcast. Someone want to sing while we listen? Trying weird fruit. That was my birthday. That's another fruit. Another birthday. This is one of the churches we work with.
That's Cameron.
That's our boss. That's our whole team in Ecuador. Oh. Buffering. What's going on here? Like, those trees reminded us of Tallahassee. Going to visit a new ministry site. All the teams that are coming this summer. John plays some soccer. There's we are ice skating. That's all our visa paperwork. That's Sophie.
Aww.
And then we went to Colombia for Christmas. Highly recommend.
That's Caroline.
Yeah, the bells are providing our soundtrack. It's a New Year's Eve tradition. Neil's favorite llama. Fiona is with us. We climbed a volcano near our house. John ate those. He did. That's what I look at most of the day. Flowers are one of Ecuador's main exports. That's our house. We had to quarantine. That's paid, Jillian. So we made it a lot.
I wonder why.
The birthday party again. There's Zoe again. Visiting another new ministry site. Valentine's Day. That's our team. Some friends. Oh. That was the national bike race. That was pretty cool. That's our Spanish tutor. That's my grandma.
Oh.
This was we had a happening retreat that we were planning. That's Juan Carlos. That's it. Okay, we'll have to post that because it's really better with music. Hold on, let me stop sharing for the echo stuff.
I heard echo. I was gonna say, leave the Zoom just to get the.
So you're probably wondering, do the Allens feel like they've made a horrible mistake in moving to Ecuador? And the answer is no.
It was no until I was here this weekend. No, it's still no.
We feel like we're thriving there, much like when we moved to Tallahassee. We've been warmly embraced by just a strong community. I've told people it feels like being back in college again. We all live within a few blocks of each other. We play sports several times a week, which has been my favorite part.
By we, he means I play sports.
No, you play volleyball. We like what we're doing, and we feel like we're making a big difference. Caroline's Spanish is better than mine. I feel like in the last month or two, I'm turning a corner. But so we really do feel like we're thriving. So that's the short answer.
Yeah, and we're really grateful, to y'all, to St. John's, for really being a huge part of what we're doing. We like, people say, oh, we couldn't do this without you, a lot, but like, it's really true. Like, we couldn't do this without you. And we wanted to share like a few, so St. John's is our sending church, which means like we come and we report back to you guys. I don't know, Dane's here, the outreach committee hears from us probably way more than they ever wanted to know.
No, they write a report to the outreach commission, the vestry reads, and then shares through other reporting mechanisms.
Yeah, and y'all are financially supporting us as well, so we kind of wanted to share a little bit of what we've been doing with your financial support. So kind of what you hear, like it pays our salaries, so everything we do every day. But also part of that went to helping us purchase a car, which cars are twice as expensive in Ecuador because everything that's imported is twice as expensive in Ecuador. And I was kind of not excited about having a car because I didn't have one when I lived there in 2015 and I didn't think I needed it. But it's been an amazing blessing. It's been a really great ministry tool. It goes to the airport, I think, once a week to pick people up. And we've been able to go, you saw in the video, we've visited 2 new ministry sites since we've been there. So have been able to transport around Ecuador, not just in Quito. Being able to take supplies places. We just had a happening retreat to plan happening in the Diocese of Ecuador. And we loaded it up with supplies and all the foam you saw. That's kind of Ecuador's version of Mardi Gras, is spraying the foam everywhere. If you want to see a picture of John later, I'll just show it to you. He had it all over his face. But so the car has been a huge help. We have so many teams coming this summer, which is such a blessing, that John and I and Jorge Luis can't be with every team because we have about 4 teams on the ground at the same time. And so we have hired Ecuadorian and North American interns who will be with the teams, which is actually how I met Mother Abby and how I ended up here. I hosted her team when I was an intern. And the Ecuadorians, 2 of the Ecuadorians who are going to be working with us don't speak English. And so we've been able to pay, because of the funds that y'all have given us, been able to pay for their English lessons, which will help them and us this summer. And then English is just such a great tool to have as an Ecuadorian. It opens a lot of doors. So they'll get to be in the classes, practice that this summer, get to be with teams, and then they'll have this tool that can really open their job opportunities, their educational opportunities. So that's been a really big blessing. And there's there's more there too, so that we can keep giving out and dispersing and using for ministry as opportunities arise. So we're just really, really grateful to y'all for making that happen. It's really fun to get to share that around. I know it's like, I don't usually have money. I can just, here, would you like English lessons? Would you like? But it's really fun. We had a team of counselors come down in October to do like a spiritual retreat and renewal weekend. And one of them got stuck in the country, and because it was like that Weekend American was canceling flights left and right in October. And we were able to use some of that money to get her out of the country, like to get home. So it's a huge blessing to be able to use the funds that God has given you, that you have given us, that we can pass on to other people.
When Caroline says y'all have given this, there's a line item in the annual budget every year to support them. So some of you are doing that personally, but the church has committed to that as part of the common ministry budget to giving. And they have a fantastic blog, which is ecuadorellens.com. don't worry, we'll share that again. That if you wanna read more of the stories and see them, ask questions, reach out to them, you can support them. I loved one of the things I learned from my college classmate, your boss, Katie Banco, is you may not be called to go. Some of you may be. You may not be called to go, but you are called to pray, and you may be called to give in, as we say, time, talent, and treasure, be it going and sending someone, or as Caroline started with, those prayers are not unappreciated. They are important and sustaining to each person anywhere, but also to the ministry in Ecuador itself. So I just wanted to clarify,
Absolutely.
she is really talking about y'all are given.
Yep.
Because you give to the plate, therefore you give to the church, therefore the church is giving, and there are other ways to be involved too.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, and we send out, we have the blog as well, but we send out, it has been monthly, and our goal is for it to be weekly. Just a weekly picture of something that happened that week and a prayer request. So if you're interested in that, that link is also available on our blog. We wanted to share just a couple of stories with you guys. I wanted to show you Sophie since I've talked about her, and then we have a few other people who have been part of the scholarship program and just kind of tell you about their lives. So there's no sound, don't worry.
Who's first?
Me.
Okay.
There it is. So this is Sophie. This is when St. John's went, am I good?
You just need to turn off your sound.
They're not looking at
It's
you,
not on.
they're looking at the slide.
Mute your Zoom.
This is Sophie. Is that working?
Yes.
Okay. This is when we went down in 2018 as part of St. John's. I actually was looking, on your phone it can recognize that person in your pictures. I didn't even know I had this picture of her, but that's her with some of our youth. And then this is the moment I was talking about in my sermon when we did the ropes course in 2019. So you can see her growing even in just 1 year. And then this is at the retreat. I don't think you can see the word, but where she wrote, "In the eyes of God, I am grandiosa." I'm marvelous. And then this is this year in December, and she was like, "Remember when we did that ropes course?" I was like, "Oh yeah." But you can see in her face the difference that those 3 years have made, and so it's just. St. John's has been wonderful. Even when I was working here, y'all gave me a week or two every March to go down and be in Ecuador with the Swanee team. So I was connected, but the ability to be there and be part of this transformation and to see it every day instead of every 3 years is really cool and a really big gift. And so, this is just a snapshot. This is just one person, but I hope and I pray that this is happening everywhere, and a lot of times you don't even realize that it's happening. You don't know the seeds that you're planting until much later. So, I'm just so proud of her. So it's cool to be part of. Okay, you're up.
This is Charlie. One of our ministries is a home for boys who are living on the streets, homeless, just not in a good situation.
One of our organization's ministries. We don't work with them.
Thank you, that's
Yeah.
right. Charlie was in this organization, or was in that house for 10 years. He came from a rough situation. He now speaks perfect English. He's in university studying to be a sound engineer. So a remarkable success story. More importantly, he's a good person and a good friend to us. We play volleyball and soccer. You don't want to see him play basketball. It's not pretty. And he is our pet sitter. He and Zoe adore each other. Zoe goes ballistic anytime T.O. Charlie, Uncle Charlie, comes to the house. He's also our driver. So when we went to the airport, he takes us. I tried to avoid driving in Quito as much as possible. Picture 5-lane traffic circles with.
Driver. You
I know.
just gave us a ride to the airport.
That's right.
We're not living that life.
He loves driving, and doesn't have a car, so he's the one
He likes
going
to
to the
use the car.
airport most of the time to pick people up. We let him use our car. We try to avoid driving. It's a little terrifying at times.
That's what
But-
the traffic circles.
Yes, I almost smashed somebody in a traffic circle because they were in the middle lane of 5 lanes exiting, and I was in one of the outer ones, and so, anyway.
It's
a mess.
exciting.
So this is Charlie.
Charlie is the reason we're here because I feel totally comfortable because he's with our dog. So he's a good friend. And then this is Marvin.
This is just the delay.
That's Marvin. I took this picture just a couple weeks ago. He was one of the first students in the micro scholarship program in Education Equals Hope at that first church where Cameron was working. His mother abandoned the family when he was 6 or 7 years old. He's not sure. He's one of 4 siblings. He's the third of 4 siblings. And she fell in love with someone else and just left. And so he, his 2 older brothers are significantly older than he and his younger brother. So he kind of started at the age of 7 cooking and doing all that housework and taking care of his brother like his mother had. And Cameron and he just kind of had a special connection. If you know, I hope you get to meet Cameron one day. She's amazing. I think he saw some of those mothering instincts in her. She's very careful to say, I am not his mother. You know, he has a mother. But she kind of helped to fill that role. And so 15, 20 years ago, she met him 20 years ago. Scholarship program is about 15 years old. Until now, and has seen him grow up. The COVID restrictions are still very much a thing in Ecuador. Like they would have a heart attack if they saw all of us in this room. So he went to go pick up his diploma and he was allowed 2 people to go with him. And so Cameron and I went with him. Cameron is in a lot of the pictures and I took my camera and I took the pictures. And I mean, everyone was crying. It was the whole thing. He is working for a radio station in Quito. He's going to be one of our interns this summer. They're giving him the summer to come work with teams. Again, bilingual. And you can just see his smile and how proud he is to have earned a college degree. A high school degree opens a lot of doors in Ecuador, but a college degree it's still not something that everyone can attain. So we just kind of wanted to give you some faces and some stories rather than just talking up here, but let you see some of the people that we get to just live life with and some of the people that you guys are, again, through prayer and finances supporting. So.
One of the beautiful things in these stories that have happened with both of these guys is it's not just us giving the money out. We don't want it to be the gringos coming down giving money out. We we empower local parishes and their leadership to distribute those funds as they see fit because they know the people. We don't know who needs what, and so and the cool thing about that is it really puts 2 circles of community around each student. The first being the church. You know, they need to be involved with the church to be getting that money. And the second is school. It keeps them in school. That keeps the youth out of trouble, out of getting distracted into things they shouldn't be involved in. And then by the end of it, they've got an education, they can get a better job. You have to have a high school degree for most jobs in Ecuador. It's not, actually, I don't know if that's the case here or not, but even jobs that you wouldn't think.
To work at the grocery store, you have to have a high school diploma. To work at McDonald's, you have to have a high school diploma.
And that's not that common in Ecuador, a high school diploma. So it really, I see some economists in the room. It's really economic development because these 2 guys, 3 with Sophie, will go on to get higher paying jobs than their parents have, and that will trickle down generations They'll be better off, and if you've seen the studies on that, it's not just economic progress too. Those people are better off in so many different ways. So it's both economic development, but it's also relational and building that community that is so important.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
I have for Caroline and John, and I will just caveat to say, well, it's mutual reciprocity. You're working with agencies that are there
Mhm.
and individuals and schools that are accountable for those funds. It's not like,
Yes.
okay, you just do whatever with it, but there's actual receipts, which is sort of a thing that doesn't exist in Ecuador. Anybody who's done a mission trip and you come back to the finance, Kate loves us. We spend this here because they didn't have paper, but the gift of that accountability and transparency is also a part of the program.
Yeah, so we call them micro scholarships, and the funds have to be used for things related to school. We did pause that briefly for COVID, so it could be used for relief and food and things like that. But so school supplies, transportation to school, things you might need to wear to school, things like that. And so the funds are given to the local entity, usually a church, who has a board that oversees the process at that church, and then they are dispersed for that month, and then they collect the receipts from everyone who received a scholarship, and then come and work with our office, not me again, not an admin person, and turn in those receipts before they can receive the next month's funds. So it's, if someone were going to go away and never bring back receipts and just take the money, they would get $20. It's a really accountable program. And then that community pressure, so if John and I are both receiving a scholarship and I don't turn in my receipts, he doesn't get his money for next month either. So it's like a good, it's a good use of peer pressure, I would say. So yeah, that's just to kind of wrap it up and remind you guys, there's that micro scholarship part of our organization, and then the short-term teams part of our organization, which is what the youth are coming to visit us this summer to work. And so they both are involved at those 17 sites. So we're not sure exactly which church it's going to be at, since Juan Carlos, the priest of Buen Pastor, was just elected bishop. We're not sure if they're going to receive teams this summer or not.
They're in transition.
But it will.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they're looking for a priest too. So the site where our youth will be working is a site that will receive scholarship funds, and you'll be working with scholarship students, and just continuing. It's all about continuing that relationship. So, and we'll be there too.
We did have one question on Zoom. They were curious about the impact of the floods most recently.
Yeah, so Ecuador had, one part of Quito, one specific neighborhood had devastating floods a month ago, and dozens of people were killed. Quito is an interesting city geographically. It's 30 miles long and 3 miles wide because it's in a valley in the Andes. And basically, we received, I don't know how much
A lot of rain
rainfall
in a
in
little
3 hours, and it
Yeah.
just caused a mudslide that just wiped out a whole neighborhood, kind of, about 2 miles from us. So we were not directly affected. We don't know anybody who was, but it was pretty devastating. We had COVID, so we couldn't go help, but
We had COVID?
excuse me, I had COVID. Somehow Caroline didn't catch it. But we had friends who went and helped in the relief efforts.
So it didn't affect us or our ministry partners, but Quito kind of rallied around that neighborhood.
They had to shut off donations at one point, as well as volunteering,
Yes.
because they had more than they needed.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. For some reason, the news really picked up that story. I was like, how do you know about this? As they
John,
come to
what's your favorite food in Ecuador?
Not white rice.
A lot of it.
It's a lot of white rice in the diet. Elsewhere in Latin America, there's also beans in a lot of places, rice and beans. And Ecuador, for some reason, is just rice. So
It's cheap and it fills you up. So.
That's right. It's affordable.
What's your favorite?
I know, I'm getting there. I would also not say that worm you saw crawling around here in the Amazon. Its headpiece kind of crunched a little bit. Anyway.
What's your favorite?
I know.
He listens really well. know, right?
We have a
Evening, John.
we have a restaurant right down the street from us, and you can get lunch for $2.50, and it's a big bowl of soup. Soup is big in Ecuador diet. A plate that's about half rice, a piece of meat, some plantains, and some sort of salad. So and what?
And juice.
And juice. That's right. It's a deal. So I go down there a lot. That's cheaper than I can cook my own lunch. But I get it without the rice. What is my favorites? I'll tell you the most, well, I don't know. They have a lot of good stuff.
Does anyone know the weird thing that we eat in Ecuador? It's an animal. Tyler Schnicker. What? No, we don't eat Tyler Schnicker. I'm calling on Tyler Schnicker.
Guinea pig.
Guinea pig. Yeah, guinea pig is a delicacy in Ecuador. So
Chickens and eat them, neighborhoods, guinea pigs and eat them.
it's I have eaten it. I didn't think it was delicious, but
They serve it whole. It looks like this.
yeah.
A question? Oh, just kidding.
I was gonna say, I don't want to see a serious question, because you touched on it briefly in your sermon about, when the kids come down in privilege and all that. And how does the organization work? I mean, I hate to use the term, but it's the best I can come up with, volunteerism.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that teenagers are coming in for a week to do a mission, and it's like, really, So, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you all do within the organization to make it an effective experience? And like you said, not the gringos coming in to paint a wall.
Right. When's it coming?
Sure.
Sorry, I was like.
No, thank you, Beth. Yeah, so Cameron, again, our boss, Abby's college roommate, or not roommate, friend, is really intentional about that. And she has, for the past 20 years, been developing how can we do this well and what does success in missions look like. So, like, I don't know if y'all have heard, there's the books Toxic Charity and When Helping Hurts that kind of talk about exactly what you're asking about volunteerism and how do we know that this is a good use of time and money and that it's not helping more, that it's hurting to go down and be part of these vision teams. So we have these conversations with teams. So when you guys come this summer, we'll talk a lot about this. And the way that we define success in missions, after doing some research and the experience that Cameron has, that we're hoping to get some more of, is two ways. So the first way is if, we call it bearing fruit, which comes from John 15. So is if there's transformation after this experience. And we say that changes it from coming and spending money and spending time to investing money and investing time. So ideally there's transformation in 4 different groups, which are the people at the church or the people in the scholarship program and the community surrounding them. And then the people who are coming from the States, like the people with the suitcases, and the people surrounding them, which would be St. John's or your schools or your families. We want there to be some sort of change in the lives of those people to call that a successful mission. That's number one. And then the second way, excuse me, sorry. What's the second way?
I have no idea.
I was trying to give you a. So the first way is bearing fruit, and then the second way is mutual partnership, which is that idea that it's benefiting all of these people. So it's not, okay, I want to come down and I want to have a picture for my social media profile, or I want to have a story for my college essay, or my mom made me do this. So it's mutually beneficial as opposed to mutually using. So we want it to be a partnership. And that's how when we were talking earlier about tailoring those experiences, it's not one size fits all. Like when we took the group of all girls, we did a women's retreat. Nobody else has ever done that. Nobody else has ever brought all girls. I don't know why. But it's that really individualized, okay, what are your actual needs and how can we actually work to meet those?
And making sure with our teams who go down that we're addressing, we all have different prejudices. Spiritual prejudice, oh, they don't do communion right, or, intellectual prejudice. I've got a college degree, so I'm better, I know. Caroline touched on this in her sermon a little bit. And so we work with the groups a lot. We're very intentional about talking about those things and making sure that it's an attitude of equals. In many ways, it's not equals if you look at specific things, resources, education, but we want it to be an attitude of, it's not me, a gringo, going down to help you. It's, we're gonna go down and work side by side and become friends.
And both be getting help in the process.
Right.
Yeah, there's 4 prejudices that we specifically talk about. Cultural prejudice, so in Ecuador, they want the paint to go farther, so they mix water with the paint. And then you have to paint the wall 6 times instead of 2 times. And for me, I'm like, why don't you just not mix water with the paint? But that's just how they do it there. So we say that it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. It's just a different way of doing things. Cultural prejudice, intellectual prejudice. So just because I'm working with someone who never went past 3rd grade doesn't mean I'm smarter than that person. It means I just have the opportunity that she didn't have. And she's maybe smarter and more intelligent in ways that I am not. Cultural, intellectual, spiritual prejudice, like John was saying. There's a lot of different ways to worship God. In the Episcopal Church, we think that is with a wafer and wine, but other ways are valid for other people, and we can't, God doesn't love you more because you had wine in the chalice, although he might love you a little bit more. I'm just kidding. And then the 4th one is self-seeking ambition, which is that sort of putting yourself in the center of the story as the hero, as opposed to as part of a partnership. So you guys who are coming this summer will hear all of that again. Got it? Tyler, you got it? But I think just realizing that that's a thing the short answer is, yes, volunteerism is a thing. How can we be really intentional about not doing that? And talking about it and reevaluating continually as we go.
Any other questions? Maybe time for one more before we allow you to just greet them and move from Zoom and such as that.
Do you partner with only Episcopal ministries, or are there other denominations?
Both. So we work with 3 of the 17 are Episcopal churches, and the rest are either other denominations of churches or schools and other organizations.
Other types of communities. So the home that John was talking about that Carlos Tio Charlie lived in, the boys who have been on the streets are often really far behind in grade level. And so it's a different model, but they have a tutor, and so the academic tutor is paid for by the scholarship as well. So different types of organizations, but 3 Episcopal churches.
Palmer?
Is Catholicism still dominant in that country?
Yeah, it's officially a Catholic country, so that's a state religion. But a lot of people are culturally Catholic as opposed to spiritually Catholic. So
what does that mean?
That means that,
Keep going.
that I say that I'm Catholic and maybe I know the traditions and things, but I don't have an active faith, don't go to church. It's kind of like living in the South, but not going to a church. It's around and you know, like Christianese is part of our
Or if you're English,
language,
you're
but
Anglican because you're
yes.
English citizen, but you might not practice it
Right.
in any shape or form. But
Right.
Queen is still in charge.
When I lived there in 2015, I didn't have a car, so I was in taxis a lot. And one time, they were like, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I work at a church." "What kind of church? Is it a Catholic church or a Christian church?" Well, it's okay.
That's a culture.
So it's a Catholic country, but it's not necessarily a religious country, if that makes sense.
And the Catholic Church was the conquering church.
Yes.
So when the Spaniards came in, they conquered and forced that religion upon the culture.
Mhm.
So accepting it there's some opposition in modern days and sort of that aspect.
Mhm.
And the Protestants came in a bit later and there still are Catholic churches very much all around.
Yeah, it's an imperial Catholicism, so it's very top-down authoritarian, whereas the people who came to North America were trying to escape that system. Here we say power is not explicitly given to the federal government, it's reserved for the states. In Ecuador, it's reversed, unless it's explicitly given to the smaller entity, whether it's the church or the government or, the ice cream shop, it's reserved for the person who's in charge.
Great question, complicated.
Yeah.
Different.
It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different.
Thank you, John and Caroline. Next week, Angela is.
Oh, another favorite, hometown favorite, Chris Schwink.
Woo-hoo!
Seminary, and I keep saying his name wrong. And he will be here, he'll be preaching both services Sunday, and he'll be leading coffee talk, talking about the Trinitarian life and all that means for us.
Can I ask two things? Oh, you had your mouth open.
Yeah, I'll go after you.
Okay, number one, we would love to stay in touch with you guys. So we have our same US cell phone numbers. If you have those, we have email addresses. We have the blog that Abby mentioned, which is ecuadorallens.com. And then if you are interested in getting that maybe monthly, maybe weekly email from us, we'd love to get your information so we can add you to that. I know a lot of you are already on that.
Will that be accessible on your blog?
Yeah, there's a link to that on the blog, so if you just remember ecuadorallens.com. And then can I take a video and you all like wave? You all look beautiful.
1 second.
Yeah, it is. They want to know what we're doing here too, just like you want to know what we're doing there. Okay, ready?
I will close by saying we are so grateful to y'all. Caroline touched on this, but it's not just the money. That's important. But the love, the prayers, the way that you welcomed us and loved us when we were here, you, St. John's, have been so good to us, both collectively and individually. And we are so grateful. And my prayer would be, and I'd love for y'all to pray this, that we would take all that love that you've poured into us and pass it on to the people we're working with down there. So I'll stop before I cry, but thank you. Thank you.
And thank you. I'll be around if you want to say hey.
Thank you guys for coming.
Stop recording.